This has been a good week. Iris, thanks for inviting me to share the class with you.
Sure. I thought it would be fun to work with you since I've been your student. And I thought, I've taught a couple classes at UTA, and I thought, why not? We'll see what it's like to work alongside Stephen instead of always being his student. What did you think of the experience?
I enjoyed it a lot. I've worked with kids in the past, and so it was fun to shift gears from big kids to little kids. You were joking with me the way that, so much of the work we ended up working on with them reflects our own interests. But I think also, whether it's adults or it's children or whatever level, I think it's always good to keep that sort of sense of discovery and learning and surprise going, just to kind of be able to see the way that new things can be discovered and just learned. What about you? How'd it go for you?
I think it went great. This is my third year participating as an artist instructor for the art camp, and every year it's just a little bit different. Of course, the projects are always different, and the artwork that we focus on is always different. But the reactions that some of the kids have to the artwork is always surprising to me, and I'm kind of thinking of like, wow, why didn't I think of that? Or I'm really glad to have the experience with the kids so that I am sort of like reliving the experience of the piece all over again through their eyes.
Yeah, it's always great to see work through their, from their perspective, and to see the way that sometimes what adults think of as an unsophisticated interpretation of a work of art is sometimes exactly what's happening in the work of art. Not to sort of like, that kids are always right kind of thing, but they just, I think sometimes they're more open about things actually than adults.
Yeah, and I think they're not overly concerned with, really trying to figure out the meaning behind of a work of art. They're really interested in just getting the truth of the piece upon seeing it visually. And then, I think with the projects, that helps them kind of think a little bit more about, well, what does this mean, rather than just standing in front of a work and, trying to be overly analytical about it.
Yeah, I very much like working with you in terms of having kind of different versions of the similar ideas each day, but then also using the collection as a starting point and using specific works of art as a way to orient the project, and coming at it from very different ways. I actually do think they will remember a lot of the different materials, and just sort of being open to the way that materials teach you what meaning is. Mm-hmm. I think it will be a lasting thing. I think we both, although a lot of times they were very simple materials, I think they got a wide variety of exposure to materials.
Yes, and I think that, using these kinds of materials, along with, the kind of typical art materials like paint and, the Prismacolor pencils or pencil and things like that, helps them to, understand that artwork isn't just made, with, the traditional art materials. That artwork can be made out of, almost anything.
That's that's for sure. Well, and they saw.
I mean, heck, we're making artwork out of pretty much anything.
Exactly. I think, and also I like the way that the building itself talked to them a number of times. That they were able to just get so much out of just being in the great spaces that the Fort Worth Modern has. All of the really wonderful nooks and crannies that they were able to explore. I think it will be a real treat to them in their lasting memory of it, to feel that they have a connection to the building and the space and those works of art themselves. I think that will be a real lasting impression, actually.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, getting them, into the museums at this age and letting them participate in this kind of, I guess, sometimes kids don't get to participate in, these works of art and, their parents or, someone might think, well, these are too sophisticated for them. But, they really can realize more than we think they can. They're much smarter than we think they are. And much more perceptive.
What did it bring? What did you bring to it? Having thinking about Eva in relation to your own.
With Eva, it's so funny because my husband and I are both artists, and we. As artists, we kind of have that thinking in our head, oh, we want our kid to be creative and things like that. But she really, she knows she gives herself her own limits. Like, we might say, well, let's, make something with tape. And she'll say, no, I want to do a watercolor painting, or, I want to do this. So it has kind of taught me that, even though you can sort of, attempt to teach a child something, they still are going to bring their own sort of thinking or thought process to the project or to whatever you're doing. So, again, I said they're smarter than, we take them for, and, they might just, put one little dot, on something like you said your friend's daughter did, and be satisfied with it. Whereas we, will struggle as artists for long periods of times. Well, is this piece done? Where the kids know right away, I'm done. That I put this piece of tape here and I'm done. Mm-hmm. So I think it kind of teaches us to sort of let go a little bit of, we seem to be, kind of have a kind of tension sometimes when we're making our own artwork, and we don't just let it be.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, after all, learning never really ends.
That's right.